Welcome to the Executive Lounge with me, Inshira Addo. This is your business thought leadership program that brings you the lives, insights, and experiences of men and women who have scaled the daunting heights of either starting and growing their own businesses or managing businesses across the globe and across various sectors. My guest today is a man who has distinguished himself as a very skillful businessman. You quite often do not hear of serial entrepreneurs this side of the world, but we do have one with us today in the person of Dr. James Orleans Lindsay. He's the executive chairman of JL Holdings. We will find out more about JL Holdings in a moment, but let's start off with learning about the man himself. You're welcome to the Executive Lounge.
Thank you for having me, Sure.
Great. So you started your very first business in 1996. Did you at the time envisage growing a group of more than 10 companies to date?
Not really. I started out to be an entrepreneur, to own my own business. That was my motive. It came in late, but then that had always been my motive. So one thing led to another, and then once you have the field, you expand and you expand. For me, that has been the trick. Okay.
Well, the name Orleans Lindsay, Agri Orleans, one big family. Tell us a bit about your own family and upbringing. What was it like?
Well, it's quite a big family. Every Orleans is related. So we have Agri Orleans, Orleans Lindsay, Orleans Poby, Orleans Boham. We are all one big family. Right. We come from one tree. But then coming down to my own, my father was a contractor before me. He's passed, yeah. And so I was born in Cape Coast. You know, we moved to Koforidua because of the political issues and all that at the time. I've been through a Catholic school throughout my life. I went to Madonna School. It's a replica of Christ the King at that time, a convent-based school. You go, you run through a convent system. You know, there are orchards here and there. You go to the school farm, and you know. Then I went to St. Peter's School in Nkwetiako, pure Catholic. You keep to yourself in there. Then I would shift later on to St. Augustine's College. Interesting shift. Those were years that I have found memories of, because you see, a pure Fanti, so you should understand. Coming back to my roots.
It's like a homecoming for you.
Exactly. So I loved my life in St. Augustine's College, and there also you would experience pre-university status whilst you're in sixth form. You know, you don't really have to stick to exeat and stuff, but then you should know that you have to come before 6 and all that. And it's interesting moving from St. Peter's School, which was purely a strictly based Catholic upbringing, to St. Augustine's, but the blend was good. I loved that.
How did you manage the sudden freedom you found at St. Augustine?
Interesting. I'll tell you a story. Once I got to St. Augustine's, I was so surprised and overwhelmed by the freedom. So I would overstep my bounds, and my maternal side comes from a royal family, and so at one point it was too much. There was a plan to discipline me in the school. You can imagine, sixth former, and I had also found my niche in there. So you understand, a boys' school, you've been accepted. You've changed schools and you've been accepted and all that. So I thought this was going to be a big issue. So I'll go home to my grandmother, who happens to be the queen mother of the whole traditional area. So she was shocked. Don't you know that you are destined to be a chief? Let's go. Semi-literate at that time. So he goes all the way to the housemaster and explained to him why that should not be done, and that she's brought people who are servants in the home, the royal home, so that they will be punished instead of. Interesting thing, but you know, it created a bit of problem for me that time and all that. But you know, once you get used to that, and then you know your plan, you know, because my upbringing from my formative years were very strict. You know, my mom It's a tough lady. Comes from that trend. My mom is a Selby, so you can imagine two very strict home families coming together. So you always would know when to stop at a certain point. You know, sometimes I got punished for my kid brother losing the bread knife. You know, those times we talk about bread knives. My mother would not cut bread without a bread knife, not an ordinary knife, and then it's missing. And then my brother says, "Listen, leave big bro alone. I did it." She says, "No, she'll punish both of us." You know, later on, I was a bit worried when those things kept happening. So later on, she would explain to me, "Look, you have to be your brother's keeper." That's the main reason.
So you were taught a sense of responsibility.
Exactly. When your brother is messing up with a bread knife, you make sure you put it at the place where I can find it, because you have to be your brother's keeper.
Paint us a picture of what home was like. So you talk about a brother. Were there other siblings?
Yeah. Well, the 8 of us, so big family, you know. But then we're all together. My father would bring all of us together, make sure you go to school. He would actually, apart from all the things he's doing, he'll make sure your uniform, everything is ironed by him. So I go to school, clean and all that. So you pick these things up when you are growing up. Although, you know, along the lines, we had challenges when the coup came, and then, you know, we were unable to stand the change from all the good living. And because my father's family were politically inclined, it became an issue. So, but it's all past. I've left it all behind. I've moved on. My father, my mother, they all tell us to just leave those bits, because it was very, very heavy on us, you know. But it's all good. It teaches you a few things: the good, the bad, and the ugly.
So what are some of the key things that you would say you've learned as a result of, you know, the sudden turn of events and, you know, the privileges that you had as a child, you know, suddenly being taken away?
It taught me to keep my feet on the ground. Humility is a major virtue in my life. Sometimes I pinch myself. So I can't believe that I'm doing all this and I'm able to keep my feet on the ground. Some of my colleagues at work, I call them colleagues because we all one, you know. Forget about me running the firm, being no more now. They're always surprised. The things I do, the things we say, the things we discuss. It's all based on my upbringing. Humility is a great virtue, I think. I can tell you, Insha.
So you come from a big family, steeped in tradition, from a royal lineage, and you still managed to grow up with your feet on the ground. How did that incident at St. Augustine's College shape who you've become?
Prior to that, my grandmother had done something that would tell on my life prior to that incident at St. Augustine's. You know, she would occasionally visit where we lived from Cape Coast. And, I mean, this was around class 3. I didn't know what it was, but she had her eyes on me, everything I did. So I thought, so whenever she comes, that's the time I try to become, you know, pompous and boisterous and all disrespectful. So I'll go out with my neighbors, my boys in the neighborhood, and then I'll come back crying, you know. And then I tell grandma, "Oh, this guy, the guys down there were pushing me around." She'll be so upset and actually punished me. You know why? She'll tell me, "Listen, you are us." And I never understood that. You are us, so you should be firm. Go out there and bring something into the house. Bring happiness, not tears. And she'll be very upset. So later on in St. Augustine and all that, that would explain why he said, "Listen, you are a leader. We don't have too many boys in the family. It's a big family. My mother and the siblings, there are 7 girls, 1 boy, you know." So it taught me that there's something out there. I'm supposed to represent a certain group. And so everything I do, it will tell on the other people. And so that is how come I learned these values. These are environmentally influenced these kind of values. They are not inborn. I mean, I don't believe that. It's what happens around you, the way your parents, your siblings, the way your extended family behave has an influence on how well you do with these values. You know, if theft or things like that are accepted in a family, when you are stealing, it's easy for you. But if it's scolded upon, you are careful the things that you go through. So it's all, I think that it all influence your life.
So how did you manage to allow the environment to permeate your being when maybe your natural proclivities were tangentially opposite what you were being made to do because of the examples around you?
You see, my mom will let you know good from bad, you know, the consequences thereof when you're going. You know, we'll be walking on the street or something, visiting somebody, you see a madman walking, my mom will say, you see this man, this guy is my friend, something, you know why what he did? He was smoking hemp. And you be, oh, so you could be that person in the street if you do that. I mean, those years, you know. So she always had examples for you to choose from. You are not forced to toe certain lines, but she'll make you choose certain things. So when I decided to go to after 6 months, I was the national president for Ghana Hunger Friendship Association those years, and so I said, listen, I'll go to Eastern Europe to do medicine. He said, are you sure? My father said the same thing. My mom was, are you sure? I said, yeah, I will go. I went for 10 months. I'm bad at languages, very, very bad. And the Hungarian language is a difficult language to me, if you ask me. So 10 months I was there learning the language. And the next 2 months we're going to do full course in medicine. I called Pop. I said, Pop, this is my situation. He said, then come to Accra. You see, they would allow you to take certain decisions of your own. Then it will impact on your life, and it will teach you how to choose between issues. You don't force yourself to do stuff. So these are things that I learned growing up. It's been interesting. I mean, I will not change it for anything. I love what happened to me. I'm happy. There have been challenges, deep ones, as I said to you, but by and large, it's come up to be good.
Did you feel any pressure having started the journey down to do medicine in Hungary and then just after 10 months, you know, just bailing out? Did you feel pressure? Did you feel that maybe you had failed at your first attempt? What did that do to you?
I was disappointed because then my mates would be a year ahead of me. I was very, very disappointed, and especially, you see, in Cape Coast, when you go to a Cape Coast school, somebody in Agri College and somebody in Infant Spim School and St. Augustine are all termed as mates. So we know each other from there. So you have a very large pool of mates. And so we ask questions. We look for each other. It's not like when you're in St. Peter's College, St. Peter's School, we are, without being pompous or there, but we are made to know that we are high above the other schools in the region. So you don't look for anybody there. Some of them will never be your friends. But in Cape Coast, it's not like that. Everybody you meet, and we do a lot of social activities, debating society, Holy Child Night, stuff like that. So we are all one. I don't know how it is now, but those times, so this is a large group, and then they were all looking for you, you know. Those who are in the States will be asking where this guy, or those who are in UST, Legon. So it was difficult for me, but see, when I came back, I also moved into gardening, you know. I went to do, I did gardening. I did vegetable farming. You know, I had picked it up when I was in Budapest. So I came back, did gardening, made good money out of it. You know, I was doing cabbages and lettuce and carrots, and so up till this day, I plan to set up a sizable vegetable farm. It's always here because I know what I made out of it. And then the weekends you will go somewhere with your money that you've gained that time. How many hotels were all there? But then you sell to hotels. So I worry that people would stay in the streets selling chains and selling PK for 10 cedis a day. When you go across to Oyibi, you get a plot of land. Look, there are people, their plots are lying down 10 years now, they are not building. Plot of land, you farm on. You can bring produce to Medina market every day and get something. You get good margins out of it. I wonder, maybe we should also, conscientize the boys and girls that are listening. 2-3 people can become a unit and you do 20 beds. It's only 6 weeks you can start selling. Why do you stay in the street for 10 cedis? I look at a lot of options when I'm out there because when God blesses you, it's for humanity. It's always here, and not for your selfish gain. So I look at myself. Look, you stay in this place. You have over 450 people working for you. All these people, most of them, to me, I feel are okay. They come to me and say, listen, Chairman, thank you for doing this. You see their kids, you see their wives. Then you can use your wealth. I mean, wealth is a relative thing, although, but you can use what you have to help others. Why do you not want to help others? You eat small rice, all the cars in my house, I drive only one. When I pick 1 month, 2 months, I've not put it down. But see, I have 15, 16 of my own. I buy them sometimes just for satisfaction. Sometimes you put in all the hours. I do Friday, Saturday,
It's a little trick and a
but then when I take it, I say, it's nothing, basically. What's the man next door? Look at how the person is struggling. If most of us there are people who have a lot more than what I am doing, what I have. If we can pull it together and do what I do, why not?
We'll explore your passion for philanthropy a little later on. But at this point, I'm going to take a short break. And when we come back, I'd like to explore what it felt like coming back, feeling the pressure of your mates going a year ahead of you, and going into what maybe not a lot of people would consider the finest, job to do, vegetable farming. And we'll be back and we'll discuss all of it. This is the Executive Lounge. We'll be back and we'll hear more from my guest, Dr. James Orleans Lindsay. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the Executive Lounge with me, Inshira Addo, and today my guest is Dr. James Orleans Lindsay. He's the Executive Chairman of JL Holdings. Now, if you just joined us, you missed some nuggets. He talked about how his upbringing instilled in him the sense of responsibility, knowing that when you do things, it's not just for yourself, but for the people you represent, and also important that you keep your feet on the ground, no matter where you're coming from. You may have a privileged background and upbringing, but it doesn't make you better than the next human being. Welcome, and thank you for joining us. Now, before we went for that break, I wanted to really explore how you felt catching up with your friends, doing vegetable farming, when at the time your friends were now in the first year in university.
It was quite difficult accepting that fact, but with time it was sinking. But the more painful aspect of it were when we got back. I got back to first year, and then these are people I was rolling in Cape Coast with all the rest, and then they wanted to pond me
because they were a year ahead of you.
Yeah, ahead, and then they really made it an issue. They really wanted to get me in the water, and that time ponding was a big deal, and And I couldn't just accept it. But with time, you know, those were very trying times for me, you know, on a personal note. One will see it as next to nothing, but it is something personally. This thing can push others to even stop the school and all that. But I prevailed and then continued my education.
But how were you able to get the mindset that kept you going and to the point where it didn't matter anymore and you pursued your academic course?
Yeah, you see, after a while, I said, listen, I have to be strong mentally. I have to accept that I'm a year behind in uni. And so I accepted that fact. It wasn't easy, but it was all a mind game and mind work. So once I accepted that fact that, listen, these people are ahead of me. They are, for want of a better word, seniors. There are no seniors in the uni anyway, but then it's there. The undercurrent is always there. And then now, others in my year accepted me and for what I brought to the table, because I was deeper. I would bring other stuff from other culture onto the table, and from an Eastern European point of view and how things were done. So by and large, I came through.
All things did work together for good.
Exactly.
Now, in respect of the multicultural exposure, you've had the opportunity of working in the United Kingdom after your education. You worked in the United States, some parts of Asia and other African countries. Are there cultural differences in the way we approach work here at home compared to these places you've seen?
Yeah, there's a marked difference. Marked difference. You see, in Ghana, we take the boss as something like an icon or something, or somebody sitting somewhere, you know. Whereas other places, that's not the way it is. I worked at IBM for a while. I think 12 or 13 months. That's the longest time I've worked at one particular place in Europe and Americas. And I got into the groove quickly because I like to work, and my line manager appreciated that. They appreciate anybody who works. That's why I find it difficult when people say, "Oh," and then because I'm black, I was being picked upon. Listen, I can have a long argument with you over that. Look, the school is free. Look, when I was in the UK, I would have to pass through a few blocks before I get to school when I was doing my average courses and all that. And people would people in the flat would be making fun of me, boys my age, boys I'm older than. Look, I'm behaving like a white boy because I have my books and stuff like that. Look at that. Here I am now. Most of them ended up in prison. So the point is that wherever you go, hard work and working hard are two different things. Two different things. So when you go with that mentality that, listen, I'll put in the hours, I'll make money for whoever is employing me, and then I get the gains later on, you would prevail. And that is what I brought back from abroad, you know. I wake up every day 4 o'clock, every single day, even Sundays. I'm first at work. You can ask the people I work with, you know. I put in the hours. I do 10,000 steps a day. You know, that's 7.2 kilometers the last time we checked. You know, because I would do the rounds 3 times a day. Wherever I am in the day working, I will do the rounds. You come to the table with a certain mentality that put in the hours it's work. People would ask me at the work side, but Chairman, why are you running around at 1 o'clock? I'll smile because then I know the kind of person this guy is. If he gets a managerial position, what will he do? He'll be sitting in a nice, comfortable
swivel chair in the air-conditioned office.
I brought to the table from abroad with that kind of mentality, and I love to work.
But culturally, are we oriented to getting to onto the shop floor with everyone when we get to leadership position? Aren't we classist in a certain way?
That's what I'm talking about. But you do that at your own peril. It is your business. You have to show leadership. It is important. You have to go to the table with it. Because, you see, grace will meet you at a point, because I'm a faith believer. I'm a faith believer. Grace will meet you at a point. But you need to work to achieve your goal. If you sit down in your chair, there's stuff going on. You not see everything, but if you're on the shop floor, you notice things. You notice that this thing is not working. But if you decide to do all the lunch with people and laugh and then do all... I tried that in 2009. And now I'm a chairman and all that. I brought an expert here. I brought an Indian. Ran my system for me. When you come to me, I said, go to the chief executive. Now I was watching video and listening to news. And
How did that end?
I nearly collapsed my business. Because look, the fact is, the locals could not bond with the expert, and he was doing things his way. We have a system here. Look, who told you that micromanagement does not work? It does. In this part of the world, you need to do partial micromanagement. You try to push people around, work will not be done. Everything you do, memos all over every day. It won't work. There's supposed to be a balancing act. Trust me, it's a fact. I found it out. Yeah.
Interesting thoughts. Now, you did 13 months with IBM in the UK. And you said that's the longest that you did in any of the international jobs that you had done. Why?
Because after IBM, I never worked for anybody again. I came straight to Accra, started my business, and I have not worked for anybody since. Before IBM, those were all breaks in vacation, uni, pre-6 form, 3 months, 2 months here and there. But IBM has been the longest. Because, you see, I had my mind made up. I wanted to be an entrepreneur. Because,
so they say that success is partly or largely a decision and then hard work. So you had made up your mind that you were going to start your own business. And how did you become a serial entrepreneur? Did you just fall into it accidentally, or you deliberately orchestrated what you are running today?
What happened was that after my success in real estate, I decided I needed to shift some of the profit into other businesses. In doing so, I get a chance to employ more people. Then again, that will be the shocks when the challenging times come. And so it was a conscious decision. So anything that comes my way and it will give me $1 profit, I look at it. You see, an entrepreneur should be risk averse. You need to go to chart a course. You have to be a pathfinder. You go into the forest and then you make it your own. We, in this country, we are used to copying people, and so we don't have a mindset of our own. You don't see people branching into new businesses, stuff like, look at radio stations, 1,001 of them. We had this communication center come up, and then now financial services, microfinance. There's so many other things people could do. So if you have a certain mindset and you stick to it, I think it works.
So it wasn't just diversification. It also meant that you needed to differentiate yourself. But has it always been successful?
A few times I have lost money. I was doing a business called back-to-back transaction. That is, apart from constructing homes and selling, I was also doing land business. So very juicy lands with problems here and there, little problems that you can tweak here and there, like 2-3 families fighting over something. I come to you, I say, listen, what do you need? What do you need? I pay each and every one I walk, and I call it cleaning up. You clean up, you fence it, you sell. Inshallah, I lost $1 million last 18 months to 24 months ago. You know why? It was too good to be true, and that should have told me no.
When it's too good to be true,
yes,
it means
I was always making. I was going to
true.
make a killing, something like over 800,000 on it. I had gone to the land before, and I had gone to hit a wall, but then Somebody comes to me and says, oh, it's mine and everything with all the details, land title, everything. Paid 1 million. The next 2 days, I found out that it was a scam.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm still paying the debt now. So it's not always something that would bring success in some. But by and large, once you put your mind to it, you win some, you lose some.
How do you remain resilient?
Because I am an entrepreneur, and I'm a true one. I mean, I'm not those who are in for the short course. I've had friends of mine say, "No, now I want to go into mainstream work to work for somebody." No, that's a failure. You will lose, but then at the end of the day, you would gain something if you move the full hog. So that is what I do. That's what I've done all my life. I enjoy doing that. I love that. I wouldn't exchange it for anything, trust me.
So if James had to write an epistle to young people who would like to get into entrepreneurship, what are maybe the 3 key things that you would tell them to look out for? You have to be humble and have your feet on the ground. You have to be consistent with what you want to do. Consistency is important. It is the bedrock of an entrepreneur. You cannot be rich overnight. It's like the Lego that we have, building blocks. You arrange it. If I had looked sharp and said to myself, listen, James, this is a problem. This deal, making that overnight, do you think you are the only person on earth who could buy that for that piece? I would have at least controlled the payment, because look, people say, but then he didn't do the groundwork well, and look, that is what I do for a living. Can you check a land more than I can? If you call 10 people in this city, trust me, Shra, I am one of them who would be able to tell you the history of a land in this vicinity. So I didn't get it wrong, but I was not cautious. So caution and consistency are key elements. So humility, consistency, and cautiousness. Fantastic. But in terms of your appetite for business, you started your first business in 1996. You've grown to about 12 companies now. Do you still have the appetite to diversify some more?
Yeah, I want to do more social aspect of life. If we are all fortunate and then we grow to see our grandchildren and so on, I plan, I know my family will be a bit upset, but I plan to give half of my wealth to charity. That's what is on my mind. So I want to start doing more social aspect of it. I continue to say that I'm a faith believer. Grace has met me at a point. I want to give out. And so more of my work in the next few years, when I get to that age of 50, I want to push, do more social work, draw people into it. Every profit I make from social activities goes back into the same activities. The Lindsay Foundation is there. We want to broaden it, and then I don't want to just paint homes and stuff like that just for the cameras. No, it should be real work affecting people in the society, deprived but needy people. I mean, very educated, sharp boys and girls. In my organization, I have given the chance to young grads and the privileges for the ladies, and it's amazing, Isha. They are sharper. It's a fact. They are doing more, and they want to prove me right too. So once they get the opportunity, so there are so many things that one can do to brighten the corner that he or she is, and I would want to be part of that. I want to take the opportunity and then be known for that. Secondly, I'm thinking, see, what can we do? Okay, individually, I'm doing, in the last year and this year, my company is doing a lot more houses, residential, than most people in the system. We want to be known for this, that by the time we exit this system, as an individual family, the Lindsay and Selby family would have more homes named after them than anybody. It's achievable. Individual, So because we are not politicians. I mean, I'm not a politician, so as an individual, Kwame Nkrumah was a politician. A lot of things have been there, but individual, we build ourselves. So we have the Lindsay Park, the Lindsay Enclave, Lindsay Square, Lindsay's Nest. It's all over the place.
You want to leave an imprint.
Thank you very much.
It's very, very audacious, but as you say, it's doable.
It's doable. It's
right.
doable.
Now, what lessons have you taken away from both the successes and the not so fortunate, expeditions into entrepreneurship?
That there's no blueprint to entrepreneurship. No, there's no single booklet that I can look and read through. You learn on your way. You learn on your way. Several things would happen on the way. Several, and I mean several. You lose friends. You get in people's ways. I mean, but you see, once you are true to your very self, staying true to yourself is a cherished attribute. That what I'm doing, my conscience are clean. You cannot please everybody. I mean, some people say, "Oh, look, this fine gentleman, and then he's done this." He doesn't understand the situation, the parameters under which it happened. So if you stay true to yourself, you know that you have a clear conscience. You know that what you are doing is for God and country. That it's not for your selfish needs and all that. It works. I mean, it works. I mean, you meet success on the way.
You've met young would-be entrepreneurs, people who have dreams and desires like you did 21, 22 years ago. Do you think, in your experience, they share the same kind of motivation that entrepreneurs like you shared right from the beginning? And what could be a better way forward, if there is one?
They don't normally share the kind of things that we believed in when we were started. You know, people want to get rich overnight. They want to drive Range Rover overnight, stuff like that. It's not. It doesn't happen. I mean, look, there's a saying that in this city, if an entrepreneur is able to hold his money for 5 years, he will stay up. And there is a, although unscientific, there are examples to show. So if you want to make money in a year, sure, how can that be? You see, because you build on what you have done. I pour everything I make into the business, everything, because business is cyclical. You know, it has to go all the way around. Because money is fungible, if you are not careful, you will lose track of where you are getting the profit from. You see, if you are getting profit from company A, and then you siphon it and then use the money to feed your excessive lifestyle, you break the company up. So these are some of the fundamental things that you need to sacrifice. You know, apart from the hours, you see a sale coming in and you think it's all your money. It's not. You pay the supplier. You know, you pay the landowner. You pay the bank. That way there is trust. You know, once there is trust, the next time when you ask for the items, to be given to you. Sure. So these are some of the things that one needs to look at going forward. Yeah.
Right. So people have desires, but they have different motivations today.
Totally different motivations.
But it's quite interesting from what you've talked about and the desire to do more social enterprise and philanthropy. It reminds me of something somebody once said, that you live your life in in thirds of. First 20 years should be about learning, and then you earn over the next 20, and then you give back over the final 20 of that period. Now, what's the motivation for you to want to make money and give it back beyond your faith? I mean, how can you justify your decision to someone who doesn't have the faith that you do and make sense?
I can only tell you one thing. I don't know how I make $1 profit. And so why should I keep it? There's a saying that a couple of my Nigerian friends would always hammer on. They said, oh, they call, some of them call us Ghanaians. They say, look at the Ghanaian. He doesn't want to spend his money. If you don't spend your money, how does it come back to you? Because money is fungible, it's cyclical. It goes all the way around. So if you don't give out, how do you get it back? I mean, giving out in a sensible way. So I don't have any justification. The only one I have is that I don't know how I make $1 profit, and therefore I don't want to keep the profit to myself.
You just want to keep the cycle going.
Yeah, exactly. All I need is something that can put me to make me comfortable. I don't need anything extra. What do you eat? A bowl of rice. Even now, when you eat that bowl of rice now, because your metabolism has slowed down, I mean, I'm sorry for going into the science because I'm a biochemist. Because it's slowed down, it's even bothering you. You're becoming fat.
That's
and
right. That's
comes
right.
in diseases, sickness, all that. So why do you want to keep all that? Take it out. It will come back. If it doesn't come to you, go to your child.
Someone else.
It doesn't go to your child, go to your grandchildren. So I think
paying it forward.
Exactly.
Now, we're going to take another break in a moment, but I'd like us to explore when we come back from the break. Growing a business like yours, your group, having 12 businesses, having over 600 staff and managers. How do you build the right systems of corporate governance to ensure that they are all profitable and gives you less of a headache? And then we'll talk about succession planning.
Yeah.
You're thinking about giving away half your wealth one day, but more importantly, how are you grooming people to take over and keep running the businesses? This is the Executive Lounge. We'll be right back after this. Welcome back to the Executive Lounge with me, Inshirado, and my guest is the Executive Chairman of JL Holdings, Dr. James Orleans Lindsay. He's a consummate entrepreneur, a man who believes that there's no blueprint for entrepreneurship, that you learn as you go along. Well, we've learned quite a lot, and if you just joined us, you'll catch some more lessons in the final leg of this conversation. But I can assure you that you will find this also on the Multi-TV World YouTube channel, and so you can play back whenever you feel the need to. Before we took the break, we talked a bit about the fact that you now have 12 businesses. Now, how are you able to ensure that you have the right corporate governance structures in place so that you don't end up dying under the stress of running 12 businesses?
Well, it's a challenge. I mean, I can tell you that it's not all been rosy when it comes to managing all of them, but we are getting there. What I do is to get myself and my EA to handle all the 12. We call them general managers. So they have a linear reportage across, and then a vertical one to me or my EA if I'm not in. And it's working. I mean, this last week we had a meeting. We do a bi-monthly meeting amongst ourselves, and because we are in constant contact, everybody's business is important to the other with a different company. That way, you see, if you don't encourage that, and the people feel that they are all stand alone and they don't care about what's happening next door, it becomes a problem. But they've bought into the fact that your business influences the other one and the other one, and that profit is all put into a pool for us to share. So that way, when one is going bad, you watch that space, and with that, it works. That's what I'm saying. Our system here, if you want to bring what you've learned from the classroom, the blueprint, and you put it down, it will not gel in this country. It doesn't gel. Yeah, we have our own way of doing things, and I'm working on that. It's all tweaking here and there. There's no finality to that. So
you're fine tuning as you go along.
Exactly.
Now, but more importantly, you've created this culture where people don't feel that this is their space and solely their space, so there are no silos. No. How are you able to get the mindset right, and one that has been adopted by your general managers so that they work well with each other, especially in a society where we like to chop posts?
Yeah. I keep drumming that one in. I mean, consistently it's there. They will tell you. When I see it, I'll tell you. I say, listen, you need to liaison with this person across, because I've seen that you people are having issues. I don't like issues. You don't have to be friends after work with people. I learned that when I was in London. I stayed in South London for a long time. I mean, and my manager at IBM was Steve Charrington, and then we'll do part-time at Caesar Palace with him. And look, listen, he liked me because I put in the hours. And then he introduced me to extra work, but we're not friends. I mean, there are other people I was not friends with, but we're working on the same schedule. We put in the work hours together. You need to understand that you don't have to be friends before you can work together. Once you understand, and I will tell you, I said, you don't have to be friends. In fact, I don't even like it when you are too friendly after work. I mean, it also has its downside, and they can link together. You never know. So I wouldn't even encourage that so much. But at work, you need to work together.
So it's just keep the goal the main thing.
The main thing is the goal. That is what is bringing all of us together. Every other thing is secondary. You know.
Fantastic. Now let's talk succession planning. Not a lot of businesses survive their founders. How do you intend to be different?
I have looked at it very well. Those are I think most of them, what happens is that their plan is to leave it with their children, the children to manage it, and I've seen that does not work. My eldest son just finished LSE, and he's not interested in working in the company. He's on he's working for somebody else. He says, listen, Pop, I want to gather experience. Well, I say, yeah, that's fine. You see, but people will start by pushing their children, oh, go into real estate, come and learn this, you know, I'm leaving this business for you, and it doesn't work. People come to me and say, oh, listen, I want to buy, at the end of it all, I want to own 3 homes, one for the girl and the other 2 for the 2 boys. I look at them and I laugh. By the time they are old, they don't want this property. It is old-fashioned. You know, a house, you need to do renovate your house at least every 2 to 3 years, minor renovation, and then 5 years, major renovation. You're buying, your girl is 10 years, your boy is 12 years. You're buying a house now with the mindset that you're living it with him. When by the time the design is past, I mean, is outmoded, you know, and then, you know, rather forgoing very important things to do for them, look at the education, look at the path he's taking. That is more important than thinking you want to leave a property. So people have, you know, wrong priorities, and I keep telling them. Somebody comes to me and says, I want a 5-bedroom because I have 5 children and all that. Look, they're going to leave to uni. Why do you want 5 bedrooms? Let them share 2 or 3 rooms for now. Save the money for something else. So I intend getting people to succeed me from inside, not for sure being my family or my children or my nephews or nieces. No. It doesn't work. It has not worked here. People should stop that. Look, somebody has put in 10 years of his life for you, his whole life for you. You know, his key member. Then because you want your son to be in there, you jump him. When you pass, what are you going to use the money for? Rather than encourage him, show him how to put the system, everything in a trust, manage whatever it is, share it in a certain manner. Then the world stays, your family is happy, your extended family is happy. The person who's putting 10, 15 years of his life is happy. So my plan, that is how I'm planning my system. I mean, I don't want to force anybody, any family member to be my successor after I've passed. No, it could be from anywhere. I have 4 or 5 of them. All of them I'm watching. I'm looking at it. I know what everyone can do. I tell them sometimes, and then I watch from afar. You know, yeah.
Great stuff. When you're not waking up at 4 a.m. to go do what you love doing, what do you do on your downtimes? What do you relax?
Well, I like to read a lot. I like to walk. I read everything. I buy a book a week. A book a week. If I don't buy this week because I traveled, the next week I'll buy 2. And I read everything. Everything. When we're growing up, this came from when we're growing up. When we're growing up, we're doing the what do you know in school among your houses and among your sections, we call red, gold, green, all that. So you need to be on top of it. I could tell you the head of states of the 50 African countries at that time, class 6, class 5. You know, I loved Onisase Nguesu because of his boots and all that. You know, and all that. You know, Mobutu Sese Seko. So you see the newspaper on the floor, you lift it and read, and then you jot it down. So it's a culture I've built all this years. So I read everything. I read as a leisure. Fridays are my time off. I can go home in the morning, the next morning. I have no issues in the house because it's my off day, we call it. So I roam the whole of Accra from one point to another. That's one.
And that's how you
Yes,
relax.
yes. So
wonderful.
Then Saturday I'm back at work as well. So I do half day, and then Sunday I do my exercise in here and there, and then sit down with my people. We have a men's club, you know, 40 members, exclusive men's club. You go there, you can chat, watch football, and the interesting thing is that politics has never divided us. I mean, it's one of the great things that we have there. From different sections of the political divide, we would talk and argue and go home to sleep.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Right, it's been fantastic having this conversation with you, and as we do as a tradition, 5 takeaways from this conversation. And for me, number 1 is humility. That it's important that you remain humble, keep your feet on the ground. And if you want to succeed as an entrepreneur, you must be consistent with what you do. You cannot start something today and then change because someone else is doing something you think would be will afford you a better chance at being successful. And the third thing is also that you should be cautious. If it is too good to be true, then it is too good to be true. And the fourth thing is that you should know yourself, know your limits, and never stretch beyond what you are, because in the end, the real you will show up and might mess everything up. And the final thing is you should consume knowledge. It abounds in books, on the internet, and in talking to people and watching the Executive Lounge. It's been a wonderful day coming your way again. Big thanks to our friends at Villa Monticello, X-Men for the grooming, and also to Kuku Apia and the entire production team. My name is Inshirado, and as always, go forward, make rain. We'll see you soon. Shalom.